healthy singing, of never forcing the voice, always opening the body, having as much resonance as possible.
Why a success of a countertenor now? I think it's a question of culture also, and I think the way we are thinking or we have to behave as a man and as a girl has changed a lot these last years.
Maybe not different in technical. It's soul and energy. Man and woman, it's a different persons.
Probably a man is more able to express also his fragility and his boyish side also. And there is many ways to become a man now. And it's not only the way to be brave and a warrior, for example.
You don't need this flexibility, but you have the power. You have the power to get through 100 people of orchestra playing forte.
Secondo me nel fenomeno attuale dei sopranisti c'è una maschera del femminile, ma la qualità vocale me la dà il corpo. Allora, se quello è un corpo maschile non può essere una voce femminile. Quindi, diciamo, mi sembra che la femminilità sia più una specie di orpello esteriore, una specie di dichiarazione di intenti, ma poi la connessione psichica profonda sia invece con la voce non castrata dei castrati, cioè la voce prima della muta vocale.
To be a countertenor also is not trying to sing like a woman. It's more trying to keep something from my childhood, to still stay a child in a way, like the castrati, for example. We are not castrati, and we are countertenors. It's quite different. A part of the success of a countertenor that the people they are very protectful, for example, with us. I have a lot of fans, some women between 40 and 50 years old, and they are really behaving with me like second mothers, you know, taking care of me. The success of the countertenors now, I think it's for many reasons. First, of course, we are making more and more Baroque operas on stage. More and more, you can see that all the big opera houses practically have one Baroque production by year, one Handel or one Monteverdi mostly. And then we need countertenors because I think that a lot of stage directors, they want a man in a man part.
In the 20th century, you have these two uses of the falsetto voice. Then you have the pop world where this voice is used in many different ways. I mean, people like Anthony Egerty certainly plays with the idea of a transgender and the high-pitched voice. In the classical world, to regain, to re-own the castrati repertoire. Today, many countertenors are playing the role of the castrati in operas that have not been performed since the premiere even, or very seldom, or the roles that have been played by women for many years.
Terrino valore a sormontar quell'infernal furore. Queste verghe fatal cora vi porgo, fran fuggir que mostri. Ite con pie sicuro che potran dare il corso al pigro Arturo.
Germana l'obrna, impaziente anelo, che forte al fin dalla vittoria il cielo.
I believe that there are two kinds of legacies that the castratos left us. The first, of course, is the musical repertoire legacy, which is carried forward, I think, very well by countertenors, sopranists, or falsettists, whatever the name you want to use to define their voices. But then I think there's a broader legacy, which plays on a more subtle cultural level. And that is the ability to entertain, breaking any definition of what the voice should and could sound like.
Now countertenors are reclaiming. There's the whole thing, I mean, a countertenor voice will never replace the one of the castrato, because that was a completely different sound, obviously. But at least we can enjoy the opera with the sort of the gender displacement, because you still see a man singing in a high-pitched voice. Might not be the boyish quality of a castrato, but certainly you get that ambiguity, which is different when a woman plays those roles. Women have been playing the castrato roles for many, many years.
To come as close as you can get to the Baroque style.
The first time I actually was inspired by this idea was the fact that I did Il Sant'Alessio by Jacopo Landi with Philippe Jaroussky and William Christie and Lisa Florisson. And at that time we did, in fact, a 17th century Roman oratorio that has been performed in costume as a semi-staged production in Rome. And so I got a little bit more into this literature, and I learned about the fact that in Rome it was forbidden for women to sing on stage, and that all operas, in fact, in Rome have been performed by men. And that fascinated me enormously to know that for 200 years in the Vatican state, all operas, disregarded of its stories, even the most biggest love stories that Metastasio ever wrote, were sung by men, transvested as women.
Of course, I'm a man singing the role of a woman in that sense, but since our time is willing to accept women singing Giulio Cesare, for example, without questioning it. My idea was not to turn it into a travesty, but to reveal the human quality. It's somebody who says farewell and who is about to die, and that's not a female quality or a male quality, but it's a human quality.
I simply fell in love with this idea, and I always wanted to do a production where we could do an 18th century opera from Rome with a real story, with a real drama, but with a love story, with death, with intrigue and everything. And the only composer that seemed most interesting was Leonardo Vinci, because he was a competitor of Porpora, and he knew Vivaldi, who was at that time performing Giustino and Hercules sul Termodonte in the season before. And Handel used a lot of his music in London. And so for me, that was clear, there is something completely unknown. I didn't want to have a cheap drag show on stage where people start laughing about it. For me, it was important to develop something completely credible, and where the audience is captured into a completely surreal world and is just fascinated by it.
Secondo me abbiamo non dei castrati, ma delle persone che hanno un dominio tale della loro voce, una potenza vocale tale, una possibilità espressiva così alta da richiamare tranquillamente i successi che i castrati avevano. I concerti che ho fatto con Max Cencic mi fanno vedere il pubblico in piedi urlando.
So I looked onto Artaserse, which was Vinci's last opera before he died, or supposedly was killed. Nobody knows. That is also a very interesting story around that. And so the whole story is about intrigue and death. We don't have really too much love scenes, and I thought that will be easier to put on stage and make it credible, even with transvestite countertenors as women. For me, it was important not only to get the best German Baroque orchestra, like Concerto Köln or Diego Fazolis, who is one of the best conductors for Baroque music, but I wanted also to have the most extraordinary countertenor voices of our time in this cast. We are, in fact, producing a Roman 18th century opera after 300 years again, one-to-one up to its tradition, as it should be done, or as it has been done at that time. Everybody would say nowadays, oh, countertenors, they're so gay, you can put on them some drag and they will be just wonderful. And it's not true, in fact, because all of them that I heard and I know with certain vocal quality and everything are big. They're very high, they're huge. So I had just difficulties saying he could play good a woman, because it's impossible. It's not credible. So I had to take a female role, because in fact I'm the smallest one of all of them. And Valer Barna-Sabadus, who is rather sort of slender looking, can be, transvested very credibly in a woman. But for the rest of my colleagues, I think I've done the best I could to give them the right roles, because it would have been completely impossible to put them in female clothes.
Arpace is a role that was written for Carestini, one of the famous castratis of the Napolitan school. It seems to be that Carestini used to have a very big vocalist station, because he's singing till the high B flat, you know, and in the low notes he's singing the D and sometimes the low A. So here the musically or vocally speaking is we could say soprano part, speaking in the castrati way. You use the middle voice, but you also go to the high notes. He for sure was an incredible singer, and I always say with a beautiful high A, because every composer, Handel or Vinci in this case, they wrote a lot of A's.
This project is very important that it is serious work, very dignified, like kabuki or like the Chinese opera. Yes, it's about intrigue, it's about love, it's about gods, it's about everything what you find in the Eastern Asian theater. But when you look at it, it's so perfect that it's dignified at the same time, and people regard it as an art. And this is exactly what happened at that time in Rome. This was not just a funny freak show. People went there because they adored it, because it was really well done. And this is exactly what we want to do.
Per questo repertorio, non en travesti ma in sostituzione, diciamo, dei castrati, questi controtenori con una tecnica evoluta, con una possibilità espressiva molto forte, sono le star del futuro sicuramente. Bisogna dire che lo star system musicale sta sempre cercando qualcosa di nuovo, perché per vendere bisogna avere un'idea nuova. Questa è un'idea vecchia, ma è nuova perché nessuno l'ha messa in atto nell'epoca della registrazione, nell'epoca del concerto, nei circuiti operistici, e infatti si vende, funziona, abbiamo molte recite programmate, e io penso che tutti questi personaggi, chi non è ancora una star mondiale lo sarà prestissimo.